Well, hopefully that's straight and level, or whatever the proper terminology is. Look at this, we're standing up. Imagine, I've got a standing desk. I told you about this. I mentioned it's getting one of these desks. It goes up and down. You can sit and stand. Main reason is honestly, I hurt my back. I used to have one. So when I was working at the when I was with the agency, I was with for a few years, good few years. We had one for a while. I thought it was great, honestly. I regularly would stand, particularly if I had a day where, there were a lot of calls. I kind of enjoyed being able to move around a bit. I probably took for granted a little bit how good it was for my back, which is subsequently the reason I've got one now. So I bought one recently. I hurt my back about a month or so ago. I think it was probably just, I can't remember if it was like the first week I started doing these videos or near enough to it, but I can probably look back and see. Hurt my back and just doing standard everyday stuff. And one of the things I was advised was to get up and move around more. And also, if you can stand at your desk, great, but make sure you stand properly. So that was interesting. Apparently, you have to stand the right way. You can't just stand kind of probably as I'm doing right now with too much weight on one side. You have to stand feet together, ideally a bit apart, and still keep taking breaks and still do stretches and still walk around the place. So I think it helps at least a bit. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, I've got a presentation now which we'll get into in a second, and I think for that type of thing as well, it's more for preference. But I do enjoy, well, it's good to not sit all day, right? It can't be a bad thing to stand up every now and then. And for it's a pretty standard desk. It's not too big, it's pretty sturdy. Like if I shake it, it wobbles a bit, I guess. But so far so good. And yeah, looks pretty good. So happy with that. In other news, good weekend. And what's the big stuff coming up this week? I don't know if it's practicing what you preach or whatever, but I would say it's kind of interesting. I always go on about how your expertise travels. It's important not to limit yourself based on geographical location. I was just looking this morning, got calls with, over the next 2 weeks, I have intro calls with people in New York, Manchester, Dublin, Chicago, and where's the other place? Bosnia. Bit of a random one. But there you go. That's just in a space of 2 weeks for intro calls, and then I have 2 discovery sessions booked in with people, one in LA and another in Chicago. So look, it's just a case of all these people, it doesn't matter where they are, they're facing the same challenges or similar challenges to people that I already work with, or people that are also out there in different parts of the world. So from my perspective, it's just an extension of what I regularly say, which is that I'm not positioning myself to Irish people. Like that to me would be crazy. So it's nice to again, I've had this for the first few weeks in the year, in particular where I mentioned that the volume of inbound calls are increasing, but they're increasing, I would say, largely because more people outside of Ireland and the UK are becoming aware of me, which is great. So yeah, we'll see how they get on, or how they go. Done all my prep, etc. for tomorrow's client session, which is good. And yeah, the main event. So main event today then, I've got in about 30 minutes, I've got a presentation with quite an interesting company. So they specialize in outsourced account management. I mentioned this last week. Ultimately, they have like a community of account managers and agency owners where they regularly get people in to talk about something in particular that might help that community or those agency owners. So I'm coming in to talk about, I suppose, what I'm up to, and ultimately the theme is empowering digital owners, digital agency owners to scale their business. So that'll be good. I'm excited to do it. I've got a deck made for it. I'm going to run through it, probably answer some questions. What I quite like about it is that, as I've alluded to, I would have entered the last business as an account manager, so I feel quite strongly about and have an interest in client management and account management in particular. Like if there's one of the key things that I do with owners that I really enjoy, it's working on the client side of stuff. So that'll be good. It's funny when you do a presentation, I'm sure there's more of a, I'm sure someone has done way more of them would know for sure. But at least I found, I don't know if you speak quicker or if you speak more slowly and maybe add in more, or how it works generally. But if I'm pacing it around a 15-minute presentation, which is about a minute per slide, I always feel like I'll tend to finish a little bit sooner. So, which is fine. There's no real set time for it, I guess. And yeah, nothing else. Look, I'll come away from that with, I think, the idea is that they publish it on their YouTube. So I might have a bit of content off the back of that I can put out there for the world to see. So I'm glad of the topic, because the topic allows me to speak quite generally about what I do, and yet at the same time I'll be able to shape parts of it towards the people that are on that session so that it's hopefully valuable to them. So that's the main thing for today. And then, yeah, tomorrow we're in Glasgow, early start, client session in the morning / early afternoon, and then an early enough flight home, and I should be back around, well, back evening time, I guess. And then the rest of the week it's pretty good. Got lots of stuff booked in. I did my scheduling for the week last night and this morning, and I think what was interesting to me was how, again, I alluded to this, but things are picking up pace and there's more to do. So if I look at the week now, it's right in front of me actually. There's only really a 3-hour slot where, you know, I have time to allocate to something, which is great. Yeah, it's brilliant. There's just a lot. It's one of these weeks where there's a lot of maybe client work to do, or a lot of calls booked in, or a lot coming up. So yeah, it's exciting, and obviously we'll enter a new month at the end of this week. So I'm really, honestly, it's good. February's been, I know we've still got 4 days to go, or 3.5 days to go, but February has been, yeah, way better overall for the business than January was. January was a quiet start to the year on reflection, both in terms of outputs or outcomes, and I would say input on my part. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it ends up this month, but I'm building a bit of momentum going into the third month of the year, which is great. What else on week 9 of the year? That's kind of it, really. I don't have too much specific today in terms of thoughts beyond, like, I think what could be interesting actually. So the main thing, again, it came up at the end of last week. It was like, I suppose I had a question along the lines of, how do you see your business evolving? And this is something I've touched on previously, but I was asked it quite directly, in the sense of, I think I was being probed from that potential client's perspective of, like, you know, is this something that's going to last longer than 6 months? And I've gone back and forth a little bit on this, but at the same time, I received a good bit of advice recently in the way of, I know there's plenty to do in the first 12 months with clients if they're the right client. So in a particular case, like that person I spoke to on Friday, I personally didn't feel like they're necessarily the right type of client. There was someone else I spoke to on Friday who was quite the opposite. And the main difference between the two of them was that, based on the questions I asked, and based on where their business is at, I could almost, in about 10 minutes, map out all the things we'd be prioritizing in the first 3 to 4 months with one. With the other, I'd struggle to do it for maybe 2 or 3 months, and then ultimately after that, I'd kind of be scratching my head a bit. And I think there's something to be said for, I wouldn't call it gut feeling, but again, it's just my understanding of where they're at business-wise. And I think if they've asked the question, basically, maybe they're concerned. I don't know how they're feeling about it, but maybe they're immediately like, I don't really see how this could possibly last more than a 4, 5, 6 month partnership. But in terms of how my business evolves, yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to assume, or it'd be wise to consider, what things look like after maybe like 12 months with the ideal client. Because do you still work with them on a monthly basis? Does it become less frequent, but maybe longer period of time together? So for example, a full day once a quarter, I'm not sure. I think these are all things that have to be weighed up. Equally, there'll be plenty of the right clients that will be happy to continue in a cadence that we agree on from day one, and that's perfect. And again, I've said it to a few people coincidentally in the last couple of weeks. The clue's in the name. I mean, flex is flexible and ops is operations, and it's flexible operations for digital agency owners. And that means if I'm staying true to that, I have to respect the fact that, again, it's not going to be a nice cookie cutter, I have 22 clients and they all build the exact same and I spend the exact same amount of time on each of them. It isn't going to be like that. So yeah, that was just a general thought really, but it's interesting. I don't think there's too much to share today. I'm not going to force this. It was a good update to start the week. I'm excited for the week ahead. There's lots going on and overall progress in this month. Again, we've had 4 weeks now, probably since the first or second week that I started doing these videos. I feel like things have really started to kick on, which is nice. And it did me win the week last night again, and I pull that up for a second. Even getting good at this, it's just a lot more clear to me what success this week's going to look like, and there's no reason I won't achieve that. If I don't achieve that, it's pure laziness, or I get sick, or something comes up, but the only thing that will stop me from achieving that and having a really good week is my own laziness, which is entirely in my own control. So it's very clear what I need to do. It's clear what's coming up, and I'm excited. So why wouldn't you be? You've just got a standing desk. It's glorious. What a way to start the week. Yeah, that's all for today. I'll be back tomorrow evening with a video. I'll either do a video very early tomorrow morning and publish it late, or also do a video very late and publish it very late. I won't be doing anything in between, I don't think. I know I've said that, I've just realised it might be a shorter client session tomorrow, so who knows?